Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 226 of the RRBG podcast. This podcast is a proud member of the Podbelly Network. Go to podbelly.com and check out all the amazing shows we have on our network, including the Sofa King podcast, Robots for Eyes, Art and Jacob Do America. I mean, there's one for everything that you're into. If you're into Magic the Gathering, they got you. If you're into the occult, they got you. You're into serial killers, they got you. Everything. Go to podbelly.com, check out the list, and support the network. This episode is also brought to you by Killcliff. My friends over at Killcliff make the best energy drink you can buy in the market today. Clean energy, none of that crap that they put in Monster or any of those Red Bulls. No sugar, just clean power for all the grind you're going to have to put in today. And if you're not grinding today and you just want to relax, they also have CBD drinks to help you recover from any injuries you may have, any kind of inflammation. Maybe you went a little too hard at the gym. CBD drink will get you right back on track. Go to their website, killcliff.com. Check out all their different flavors. My personal favorite Ignite drink is the Cherry Limeade. And in the CBD category, you have to try the Joe Rogan Special. It's the Flaming Joe Pineapple with Jalapeno. It's not that spicy. You just get a little bit of a kick at the end. It's delicious. Go to killcliff.com and tell them that RRBG sent you. This podcast is also brought to you by El Yucateco Hot Sauce. You know, I got to tell you, I've been eating a lot more Mexican food these days as I live in LA, and it's just inevitable at this point. So having a really good hot sauce at my disposal is kind of crucial. And my go-to right now is El Yucateco Hot Sauce. They are a staple. They come in so many different flavors. You can get the verde sauce with jalapenos, or you can get the habanero sauce. They have the special like black sauce, which is a special reserve sauce. I mean, for whatever level Scoville you can handle, I'm sure you can find yourself a sauce here. And if you go to shop Yucateco.com, use the promo code RRBG and you'll get 10% off of your purchase. This podcast is also brought to you by Saints Joints. Go to saintsjoints.com and check out all the awesome products they have there, including the new Book of Saints that comes with 4 packs of pre-rolled joints. This is incredible, lavish, luxurious looking gold foil stash box. The works. It's the best looking stash box I've seen. Make sure to go pick one up before they're all gone. And also check out the new hash infused pre-rolls. Don't forget, it's saintsjoints.com, and make sure you tell them that we sent you. In this episode, I talked to U.S. Army veteran and founder of Sheath Underwear, Robert Patton. We had a great conversation about his past and starting the company, being in the Iraqi desert, defending our rights. We talked about mushrooms. We talked about other dimensions, the flower of life, sacred geometry. We talked about comedy and our friends in the comedy scene. I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure to go to sheathunderwear.com, pick up some of the best underwear in the world, and use my promo code RRBG to get 20% off of your purchase. Make sure to follow them on social media at Sheath Underwear on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/RRBG. Cheers.
One.
Cheers to you. It's a CBD drink.
I just bought that because I was listening to your podcast earlier, and I was like, all right, let me see what the fuck. I bought like a case this morning.
It's not bad, man. It's not bad. I like it. It really does. Post-workout is really good, the CBD one, because it makes me just kind of chill. But then again, I also smoke.
Me too.
And it's one of those things where you kind of have to smoke to activate those cannabinoids in the CBD. That's what makes it pop for real.
I like this shit for CBD and smoking. It's the Cushy Dreams.
Ooh, yes.
Because it really tastes and it feels like, you know, good bud and stuff. And it smells. I mean, it smells good enough to where it's almost, you can kind of get a placebo. Like I had to go to Texas a month ago, and I took that with me, and I couldn't smoke weed for like 2 or 3 days, and so I was smoking that, and it did have like a little placebo effect because it tastes like weed.
Right. Yeah.
Because some CBD doesn't taste like weed to me.
Yeah, this stuff doesn't taste like weed. This tastes like straight up pineapple and a little bit of like a little kick to it. So I like that. And I also have these other drops that I use from Infinite CBD that they don't have any flavor. It's just like coconut oil, I guess. but then like my brain goes, that's just coconut oil.
Yeah,
That's all.
you know.
That's not CBD. That's just coconut oil I'm buying. But I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I can't fucking talk about that. Like,
well, coconut oil is good for you too, supposedly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I used to put some in my coffee, that bulletproof coffee stuff, where
bulletproof.
it's ghee butter and MCT oil. That shit works.
I was on that, but I turned out I'm allergic to pretty much everything vegan. I have, and you can tell, like, if you look at my arm.
Oh shit!
That's the kind of shit that happens because I was cheating recently, or just dairy, vegan.
So grains, like, are you really gluten free? Like, is that the celiac disease? I believe it's called.
I should be, but I'm not, because it's in everything, and I'm not that strict because it's a weird skin thing. So it's not like debilitating, but it definitely causes a skin.
Is it like mentally debilitating where you're constantly wanting to scratch it?
Yes. Well, at night in bed. Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Like, I hate that. Like, constant scratch. I used to have a lot of issues with like in New Jersey, I would play around outside a lot and I'd get poison ivy all the time. And I at the time when I was a kid, it was like, oh, you're just rolling around on poison ivy, but it could be other things. I don't know. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, it's
Bugs,
allergies. Dust. There's all sorts of weird shit that, you know, can cause like inflammation and some kind of weird reaction.
Yeah.
And I need to pin it down better, but I went to a doctor a few months ago, and now I have the list. and it's a long list of shit
that you're allergic to.
That I'm allergic to. Like,
shit.
A lot of stuff, and like stuff like coconut for one, vanilla, pistachios, and like these weird, like this shit that I would eat like every day. I was like, holy shit, I can't.
That's
eat
so weird,
this
man.
Stuff. Yeah.
I wonder if has it always been like that since you were a kid?
Mm-hmm. But I was eating it when it was way worse. It's better now. Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I had to get checked out because I recently started getting these reactions where I'd get up and have my breakfast. It was like eggs and bacon and like coffee. Normal thing that I've done my whole
100%.
life.
Yeah.
My whole life, every day, not every day, but you know, all my life I've been eating eggs, bacon, and coffee. And just one day I woke up and had eggs, bacon, and coffee, and within an hour I was coughing, phlegmy, and my lips swelled up.
Wow.
Like super big. Like I took a picture, posted on Instagram, my lip was like a golf ball.
Kim K.
What the fuck is this? I had to go get tested, and they came back with like a bunch of shit. I'm allergic to dogs and cats, but I have a dog, so I don't care. I'm
same.
Not,
yeah.
You know, what am I going to do? But anyway, I'm not going to cut any of that out. I like that, so we're just going to keep going. But I wanted to introduce you properly for everyone.
Please.
Welcome to the RRBG podcast. I am here with U.S. Army veteran, founder of Sheath Underwear, Robert Patton. How you doing, brother?
Thank you. I'm doing very well, sir. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm excited.
Absolutely. I want to get that vibe going of like, I have to do the intros because sometimes I just jump into a conversation, but I'm a big fan of like Bruce Buffer, you know, the introduction to the show. It's kind of like a thing, you know, I love that.
Oh, that reminds me. That's a weird reference that you just made, because I did a podcast with this guy, the Authentic Podcast, and cool. For his intro, it's Bruce Buffer that he paid from Cameo to do his intro, and he's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, now introducing the most authentic podcast in the world." and then
don't plug other people's podcasts on my show, bro.
If you listen to that, like, and maybe this one will top that one, hopefully. But I know that I was a guest on his show, and it was one of those ones where sometimes you're on and sometimes you're not so on as far as being able to think of words. Sometimes I'm like, I just cannot think of words that I want to say, and I'm like, it's on the tip of your tongue. But that day, I was just like on fire when it comes to telling the story, and I like to share the story, so I'm happy to do it here.
Hell yeah, man.
But and he's a local dude, and we'll move on. But the last thing I was going to say in reference to what you said about Bruce Buffer, and he ended up getting him on his show.
Nice.
And I'm like, And he's a dude, he like lives down the road. Like your podcast is bigger. My podcast is probably bigger. RPG podcast, but maybe not actually. Now that I'm looking, he had Bruce Buffer and Smiley Sam Alvey, the fighter on the UFC. Two pretty, and a couple other people. I'm like, this guy's getting after it.
Yeah, know? Man, it's one of those things where like I've been lucky. I also put into work. But I also have been very lucky to just run into people, especially here in LA, where like it's the scene, right? And I've been lucky to be able to just walk up to, hey, you know, and then now they're on my show. Even before, like now the show's doing well. I have decent numbers, and by the way, thank you everyone for listening. But in the beginning, the numbers weren't huge. It was a new show, and I still had like, oh, Adam D's there, and that's just because I knew him, and so. That like I try not to think about that. I see other people's podcasts sometimes. I'm like, oh motherfucker, I want Bruce Buffer. What the fuck?
Right? Yeah. No, exactly.
Tell me about the RPG, man. Tell me about the podcast. Like, what got you into podcasting?
I mean, you know, when I grew up, when I was a kid, I'd get in the car with my dad, and he would have like Rush Limbaugh on, or Dr. Laura, and all these different local radio talk shows, and I always loved it. I mean, he loved it, and I think because he loved it, I loved it. And so when I grew up and podcasting came out, I was, you know, one of the first adopters of Joe Rogan, you know, like back in 2011, 12. And I listened to every single podcast from start to finish, probably the first 1,000 podcasts that he did.
Oh, shit.
And like, no shit. And I have a kind of lifestyle that would allow someone to do something like that, because I was in the middle of starting Sheath and kind of getting out of the army, and there's a lot of downtime when it comes to running a business like this, because sometimes you're just waiting for shit. You know?
Yeah.
And, but I just I back then I started one called Mushroom Tea. Ooh. And you know, mushroom tea, right?
Right.
And tea, coffee talk, tea talk. We're talking mushrooms and psychedelics and the awakening of, I know around that time was 2012 was going to be this not the Great Reset, that's something else, but you know, when the Mayan
calendar expired.
Right. Yeah. And I moved, I'm a little bit crazy maybe, because I moved to Colorado in the event that there was a massive earth flood. I wanted to be in the mountains.
Man. Oh man! Look, I have the book somewhere back there. The 2012 by Daniel. I think his name is Daniel Pinchbeck. I forget his actual name, but it was about that. Like, oh man,
I was some kind of magnetic pole shifting that might happen, and I was playing a little bit too into it. But even Rogan was, you know, talking about it, and it was just something. I was like, maybe, what if? I don't know. Just in case, I'm gonna be in the mountains when it happens, and I survived.
Yeah. I mean, well, you know, you've got the training to survive something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
And now I'm still in the mountains. I really like it. Up here in Colorado, the weather is pristine. There's no dust. The air is clean.
Clean, good water.
Yeah.
Good mountain spring water, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That nature, that natural, into the wild vibe, out of the city and suburbs. In LA, I used to live in Orange County, and the traffic was death.
It's awful. Yeah, it's awful.
I mean,
you know, and this is right now at this time. Like I'm about a month and a half out of going back to the office. I'm still working from home on my day job. So we're about a month and a half out from going back to the office, and I'm just like, maybe it's time I don't have this job.
Yeah.
I love what I'm doing, man. It's just that the thought of losing another 2 hours out of my day now because it's traffic, 1 hour and then an hour back. You know, it's just, I don't know.
And I lived like 7 miles from my job when I lived in Orange County, and it was an hour.
Yeah,
both ways for 7 miles.
Well, yeah, when you hear people talk about LA and California traffic, it's like, I've been in traffic for an hour and a half. They're just going 5 miles away. Like, it would have been faster to just run.
Seriously, it was. Yeah,
oh man.
But maybe the traffic is easing up there. How is it?
No, it's bad again.
Okay.
It was eased up early in the pandemic, like last year, May. there was no traffic.
Wow.
I would go to like downtown LA to Santa Monica in like 15 minutes. I was like, what? This is crazy. I've never done that in my life.
Flying.
Yeah. But yeah, LA's traffic is back to sucking, for sure.
I didn't know. I thought there was like a mass exodus.
Yeah. There's still, 20 million people here.
Yeah. Okay.
So like 20 comedians left. There's still millions of people here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh man, like I'm sorry. Look, I love all those dudes that left to Texas, man. But I'm kind of bummed. Like, how dare you abandon the Comedy Store? Are you kidding me?
Well, it creates a vacuum, in my opinion. It's going to create a space for these young, go-getters, whatever, comedians.
Up and comers
to make their name, right? Same
top young rising comedians, like Tony Hinchcliffe likes to call himself,
and Jeremiah Watkins.
Oh yeah, Jeremiah's taken over, man. His new show is great with Kwangu, with Stevie Weeby. Really good show.
Scissor
man.
Bros.
Scissor Bros. Yes, yeah. I'm gonna do a little scissor for him.
We try to sponsor. That is sheathunderwear.com. Check out sheathunderwear.com. You probably heard about it on the show.
Yeah. No, I've seen both of them in their underwear on the show, which is great.
Yeah, he's been really flexible with working with us. He's done some really funny skits. There was like a golf one and a Mortal Kombat one, and the one.
Oh, I saw that. That was fun. Yeah,
it was so funny. I was like,
dude, that's one of the many reasons I reached out to you guys is that because I noticed that there was like a freedom with the ads that not a lot of companies are doing. Like a lot of companies will give you an ad read, and no disrespect to any podcasters, I'm not going to call out names, but I mean I see them there with the piece of paper, and they're just like, yeah, blah 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 blah, and use my code, blah blah blah, like. That's not an ad. So when I saw that you guys were open to, letting Jeremiah do his thing or something, like I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I ordered my first pair of Sheath through Cowboy Cerrone.
Nice. Yeah.
And when it arrived and I saw the packaging, the big flower of life in the front.
Absolutely.
Dude, look at my arm.
Oh shit! The tree of life is that what that? Yeah,
that's the seed, and then it just kind of grew into the tree or whatever.
I just got the Merkaba on my neck.
Oh, so the Merkaba, yeah, Merkaba. Is that how you say Merkaba?
I think Merkaba, which is just like when you draw the straight lines through all the circles in the flower of life, actually, but in the 3D version. And my first neck tattoo, and I took it like a champ, but I'm gonna go get it touched up.
Oh, okay. There was a couple of moments where you're like,
it hit my vein. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, the veins, the bone is bad. I thought bone would be easy because I was like, it's just bone. But I have one on my spine, and it, not a Merkaba, but something else I'm embarrassed about. And it's when it touched the bone of the spine, dude, I had a fever and everything.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, I got Sheath, and we can move off tattoos in a minute, but it's like this big, shoulder to shoulder, and then the logo, which is right there, on my, it's all on my spine and on my back, and like kind of Sublime style, Bradley Knowles.
Okay. All right.
And Wiz Khalifa, like there was something about these guys that get their brand or name tattooed on their back that stood out to me as impactful to your like progression and willingness to push forward. Like when I started Sheath, it was an insurmountable task. There were, there's other underwear companies, and I had no money, and nobody, the people telling me to get a real job and like, what are you doing? This is not going to work type thing. So, get
the haters. Yeah.
A little bit, and usually it was my family and some friends. You know what I mean? Yeah. The people closest to me were just like not really that enthusiastic, but I really had this vision and faith that it was going to be, it was legit because I really liked them. I made them for myself originally. And so it was really just for me, because I'm in the desert.
Right.
And one of the sayings was, it's hotter than the devil's balls. And so balls is one of the hottest parts of the body. And when you're in the desert, that's going to be the hottest part. And then it's just, sometimes you got to, readjust. And it was just worse. And then if you see my skin, I have like sensitive skin, irritable skin. So imagine there's like the perfect storm of discomfort that was the origin of the idea of Sheath, where I was just like, if everything was separated down there, I would not be having this issue. And, I went it was 2008 summer, Iraq. I was in Tikrit, which is called Camp Spiker. Okay. So
Camp Spiker.
Yeah. That was the second tour. My first tour, I was in Balad, which they called Mortaritaville.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of like Margaritaville, but with mortars. Super fun. And
super, it brings me the vibe of partying for sure.
Yeah. and funny thing.
Mortars.
About Balad was, when we first got there, I was a fresh soldier. I had only been in the Army 6 months before I went from basic training, AIT, unit, Iraq.
Jesus, that's so fast.
I know. Yeah, they had a plan, which it was executed flawlessly. And I got there, and when we would get mortared from, I pretty much never went outside the wall. I was one of those guys. They were called a fobbit. Stay on the fob for an operating base, like a hobbit, fobbit. It was derogatory from the real soldiers, right?
Yeah, but it's so nerdy. Like, you have to be a nerd to come up with that insult. Like,
yeah. Well, we were all brothers, and we all gave each other shit, and we all fucking were on the same
it's all
team.
ribbing, and
yeah. And I love it. I love that. I loved the Army in a lot of respects, but when you got there and mortars would come over, you might be sleeping, you get out of bed, you put your vest on, you get your helmet on, you go run in the bunker, and then you wait for however long until they stop coming, then you go back to bed. And like, as the tour went on, by the end of the tour, we stopped getting out of bed. It was just like, okay, there's mortars coming. If it hit the bunker, we were going to die. It's like, it's either going to hit there or here or somewhere else. And so you get desensitized to the mortars, which was interesting. But back to the second tour.
Good Lord.
Well, actually, in between tours, I went to WLC, which was Warrior Leadership Course, and air assault training. So I was like super soldier. I really was like into it. I loved the Army. Okay. So even when I wasn't in Iraq, came back, I went to training these would take months at a time, and not everyone graduates. And my point being that I really cared, and I was super into it. And by the time I went to the second tour, just 1 year later, I had made my sergeant, which is E5, which is like a non-commissioned officer. So you're not just a soldier, you're a middle management. But from the front, like you're the one in the front line. The officers are in the back typing and telling you what to do, and you go out to the front and do it. And so on my second tour, I was the NCOIC of 5 people. I took to Tikrit, to our base. We had our own little compound, just us 5. And I won't get into too many details, but we all came back home safe. But in the middle of it all, there was, this moment where I invented Sheath, and it's because it was so hot. And there's pictures of me I made them when I was in Iraq.
Oh shit! So you have sewing? Like,
I went to because in the Army you have to dress and be all like hot, real tailored. So we had tailors out there. Okay. And I went to, we called it the PX. It was like our little Walmart shopping center. Bought some underwear, bought some scissors, I do some drawings, and I went to the tailors and told them, I want you to sew this pocket inside the crotch. And as I'm saying it right now, I'm like, I wonder if they thought I was going to try to like smuggle drugs in there.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
I never thought of what, but I told them why, and they snickered. They were like, right? Like, this guy, what is he doing? And so they made it, and it was a very rough prototype, but because it was too tight when I put it on, it was like squeezy. But it was.
You should have given the dimension of your balls better, bro.
I didn't. It's like hitting your head against a wall, and then until you figure out how to get around the wall. And I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not this.
I don't think you want to be. That guy's weird. I like him, by the way. I think he's great. But when I saw him on Saturday Night Live doing that monologue, he's a robot.
Yeah.
That dude's a robot.
It was like, I was almost impressed at his willingness to step out of his comfort zone.
No, yeah, for sure.
And get on there and do what he did. And kudos to him. I like what he's doing. Here's a news flash. I sold all my Bitcoin this morning.
Oh.
It's like $70,000.
You're the reason it's all red. No, I'm just
kidding. I mean, I would blame him.
Yeah.
But
he did the turnaround, right? He did a U-turn on it.
Yeah, and it was more of the reason why than, because if it was just someone saying something, that would be one thing. But when he's sitting, and sure, we're all green, but I still have a gas car, but I have a Tesla and a Lexus, and anyways, I'm like not like a left or super right. I'm like a libertarian, I would say. Okay. I'm in the middle, freedom, liberty. Do you do you, I'll do me. Leave it at that for the most part. I don't know what, so
certain people find that to be satanic.
Yeah.
A lot of people on the right, like religious folk, are like, if you do you, like if you think for your, not selfishly, but just kind of like be yourself, that's what the satanic Bible preaches to them. I'm like, ooh, okay, well, I guess I'm satanic. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, go Satan. I like all the gods.
Yeah, they're all cool. They all very, very interesting powers and stories that they have. So I'm all about it too. I'm with you, man. It's hard to kind of pick a side. I don't want to pick a side. Why do we have to pick sides? Like, I feel that we should all work together. That was the whole concept of the United States, right?
Melting pot. We're melting pot, and I grew up listening to hip hop, and like we all did, right? And I was heavily influenced by hip hop culture, and yeah, I love black people. I love that, like the music and the comedy and there's so many, the coolness. They're fucking cool. What can I say? A lot of times, right? But if you try, and then the whole cultural appropriation shit, I had braids and cornrows,
man,
looking at me funny. And like Rachel Dolezal was, do you know who that is? Rachel Dolezal was a white woman posing as a black woman and made it to the head of the NAACP.
Oh wait, I heard about her. Yeah, I heard about her. Yeah.
And but it's funny, like a lot of us that grew up listening to hip hop culture could identify like how, I don't know, you're more of a rock guy.
No, I grew up in New Jersey in the hood.
Okay.
I grew up listening to Far Side and I've got Mos Def, Talib Kweli. Like I've got that in me as well. I get it. There was a very derogatory term in my neighborhood for people like you. I'm just kidding. The W word instead of the N word.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm like, so we're all mixes in today. Like I'm white mostly, but I'm also Native American and like Mexican, and I love Mexican culture also, which I grew up thinking, like I like gangsters. What can I say? I like the Italians, I like the blacks, I like the Mexicans, and there's something to the confidence and just the walk and whatever
it's the getting shit done mentality.
Appealing. Get that shit done. And you gotta, there's moral questions and lots of crime and whatever, but at the end of the day, a person like my family was like that, man. My father, my grandfather were involved with the mafia out there in New Jersey, and it's, yes, they're criminals, but also they were doing it to support their family and get shit done. Yeah. They wanted to get houses for people in their family and provide them with stuff. And they had no other way of getting there. It was, they saw opportunity and they took it and they took advantage. And as long as you're like not necessarily trying to hurt people, every now and then somebody's got to die. But
there's too many people.
Gotta pop a cap from time to time.
There's too many people on the planet anyway. We're actually saving the planet. Overpopulation is a big problem. I'm just kidding.
We're consuming all this energy, so we need to keep it. Well, that's another thing. Yeah, we could go all over the place, but I'll run with this train of thought because we're going there. And too many people. But what happens if what I want is them to come up with some kind of like fountain of youth, some kind of pill, some kind of
everybody
shot.
lasts forever?
Yes.
And we keep reproducing? I think we'd have to lose reproduction.
Probably.
If we're gonna or not entirely, but just kind of like you can have a child, like there's a certain number of kids that need to be born to keep the population kind of fresh or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't want to live forever, dude.
Well, like
not here anyway. Like once I pass into the other dimension, then I will live freely in the source or whatever.
Oh, Nirvana.
Yeah, Nirvana. But on Earth here, like I want, you know what I do want? I want robot legs and a robot back.
Dude, we are the
That'd
same.
be cool.
Yes, because my Achilles is all fucked up, and I've been telling people for at least a couple of months, if not years, I want bionic legs. I'll take the whole. Bionic legs would be great if I could run again. I love to run. I was in the army and I killed. Anyway, you know that. But anyway, I was always in the front, and neither here nor there. I ruined my Achilles in the process.
Yeah.
And bionic legs would be great, but also that, you know, a clone. If we could transfer consciousness into a brand new clone of me, and it's like you're like, oh. Yeah. You come up out of the jelly and you're like brand new, and this whole you got a fresh.
What was that show? There's a show about that. Altered Carbon.
Oh, I didn't watch that.
Watch Altered Carbon. It's basically you exist in a disc, and they just put you into a sleeve, they call it, which is like a body, and you could design it to be whatever you want. Like, you know, hey, I'm originally Japanese, but I want to be in a big Cuban body. Like, boop, they just insert you into the body.
Whoa.
It's pretty crazy, and I'm all about that. I'm down. There's obviously concerns like hackers and, you know, people fuck up your disk drive, but at the end of the day, I honestly, I'm okay with that. I just don't want this shitty body. Like, the body decays, it fucking falls apart. Bones, even though bones are sturdy, they break, you know, and you gray out, shit starts sagging. Like, I hate it. And you know, you could do stuff. You can work out, you can eat healthy and vegan and meditate and put creams, and you'll maybe get to like 150. But that's nothing, you know.
Everything after 80 is downhill.
No, dude, I've met some old ladies in Spain when I went out there that she was like, you know, walking around. She's like, oh, you want something to eat? I'm like, oh, cool. She's probably like 80.
Oh,
and I asked her, no, she was 105.
Oh shit.
And I was like, she's probably about 80. But dude, they're just drinking wine out there and smoking cigarettes. Like, that's their health plan.
No stress.
Yeah, no stress. They're just chilling. 1 o'clock. Well, gotta take a nap. Like, that's
damn. I love a nap. I love a nap.
That's one thing I've considered about moving to Spain is that the siesta. Hey man, I'm just gonna go take a nap now. When do you guys open back up? I don't know. When I wake up from my nap.
Dude, that's fucking hilarious. But because people. Okay, sometimes like too many thoughts come at once. But so when I was like 23 or 2 or whatever, I just had like I was living in Orange County. I worked at the Wet Seal or some other corporation because I worked at a couple. Somewhere along the lines, I started taking naps in the middle of the day. I would go out to my car and take a nap, and I've done it through the army all the way up until about 2 months ago. For whatever reason, I stopped taking naps because
are you more stressed.
I probably was. I was. And now I feel like I felt like I would burn so much energy in the beginning of the day, and I would call it like having 2 days, you know, so you have your morning day and then your afternoon day, like, and you can get 2 things, because I'd wake up fresh from my nap and start over and do more work. And I love to work. I love to create and team build, you know, do stuff with my team and see progress, you know. Yeah. So it was always, but I would have to schedule my day around this fucking nap. Like, I couldn't go too far away.
So the nap started getting stressful?
A little bit. Yeah.
Like now you have to go take my nap now. It becomes work.
Well, it was a thing. And now they say if you're not sleeping well at night, maybe don't take a nap during the day. And people would tell me that, and I'm like, well, the reason I take a nap is because I'm not sleeping well at night. And it was like this cycle, like a self-fulfilling kind of cycle that somewhere along the line, I'm not sure what it was. Might have been these mushrooms I took, but started taking. I've been taking these sweet mushrooms like once a month. Like, it started off, I go everywhere. My brain is insane.
It's fine. Go for it.
It started off, this guy gave me a candy. It was like a chocolate candy. And I'm in Colorado. It is legal in Denver, and the guy that gave him to me was in Denver, so whatever. But and he's still there. But he gave him to me, and he was like, "I could take half of this, and it's like a microdose."
No, it's not.
It was not. It was totally not a microdose.
Are you kidding me? Half a chocolate? That is not a microdose. You got to do like a little tiny piece of chocolate. That's a microdose.
Yeah. It was like especially being that I was on an empty stomach. I hadn't taken them in, I don't know how long, months.
Do you get sick? Like, do you get nausea, like vomiting?
A little bit. No, not vomiting, but
just nausea.
That weird kind of, there's like a transition phase when you're going from this consciousness to that other consciousness. And there's a weird, I tell people this, and anyone that's done mushrooms, and sometimes acid also does this, but during the transition, it's like, I'll see like noodles and guts and toilets flushing and weird, just your
gore, violence.
See, no, but maybe we all have our own little version of.
Well, I mean, you said
blood.
You said like
guts.
Worms
I did say
and
guts.
guts.
Yeah, it's like noodles and like weird tubes, and there's something very. Just, I don't know. It's happened many times because I've done it probably 20 or 30 times in my life, at least. And so, anyways, that probably
the noodles are just the portals, bro.
That's like tunnels, tubes, tunnels, portals. Yeah, I think you're right.
It's like those old school, like, you remember those old school back in the 40s or 50s when they had operators, and they're in front of a board with a bunch of cables plugging shit in. Like, hey, you want to talk to this guy? Bloop. That's basically what it is. You're connecting those cables to another dimension.
No, that's a good. I like where you went with that. That's a good like kind of interpretation of what I was kind of trying to say. So you get that transition, and then I know I was like crying, like sobbing, crying, but also laughing, because there was a point where I was like, I made it. We made it. I've done what I set out to do. People are buying the underwear, and like I have a team and of my wife and house and all this stuff, and I cry, but it was like, so I was crying because of that, but I was like crying because I'm getting old, and I'm like crying for my youth, and it was very cathartic. I don't know why I took video of it, but I was just like,
it's good. I wish I had taken recordings of my trips that revisit, but you still won't. You won't capture what was in here, which kind of sucks. That's the technology we need, Elon, with the Neuralink. Let's go. Let's record the dreams and the visions and the trips. I want that.
Yeah, I want all of it. I want the whole. I want a battery, because sometimes I get tired and I want to just like put in a new battery and let's go.
I want to get rid of hunger.
Yeah.
I wish I could eat when I want to eat. Like, hey, we're going to go to a restaurant and have this nice fucking amazing lobster dinner or whatever, like fancy shit, Michelin star type restaurant. We do that once a month. I don't need to oh, well, fuck, what am I doing for lunch today? Like, now I got to go make more chicken. I hate it. I don't want to have to eat. I have to because that's how your body stays alive. But I really wish we could get rid of that. That would be cool. If I could get rid of hunger but stay alive and healthy, that'd be awesome.
Get some mainline, some kind of just like a constant IV.
Blood, isn't that what the politicians are doing? The blood bags?
What do they call it? Adrenochrome.
No. Adrenochrome, yeah. Or they have blood boys. They have these young dudes that just show up and they just drain them.
I'll take it.
I'll take it. Put it right here.
I'm into it. I don't know why. Because I want that field of study to get better results, and I'll be a guinea pig. I mean, I take supplements, we'll call them
HGH. I'm down. I want to find more of that. I want some of that. Yeah, look at that. I want that Uberim body. What's up? Let's go.
Uberim.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You like the UFC. I saw that you interviewed Josh Barnett. That's
my
cool.
homie. That's my homie, man. That's my, we live a few minutes away from each other. We're working on a couple projects right now, actually. I can't say anything right now, but we got some stuff coming out. And
how cool is that?
Yeah, man. We just I ran into him at a Killswitch show at a concert. We just hung out in the back and then connected, and we kept running into each other. And I'm like, well, we obviously have the same friends, so let's be friends, right?
Right.
And then just go to his place, and we did a podcast at his place, and then he did a podcast with me and some like wrestling thing, and we just kept connecting over and over and over. And I'm like, all right, well, he's one of the hardest working people. Sometimes he gets shit. We're living in this cancel culture time that sometimes his comments are misconstrued.
He spoke his mind.
Yeah. How dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to cancel Tony Hinchcliffe right now as we speak. I saw it this morning.
Tell me.
Oh, apparently
I heard a little bit.
Apparently he went out and did a follow-up set to a Chinese comedian, and came out like straight up just, guns a-blazing. Honestly, though, I've seen his sets at the store, and he says some fucked up shit, but it's always a joke. It's comedy. You're supposed to laugh. I think the change of audience to Austin, it took a hit, and also I'm gonna have to ding him a little bit because the timing.
You should have known better.
Well, no.
Asian hate.
Right. Yeah. Exactly that. That's exactly it. The timing. Like, dude, right now there's a current movement against Asian hate that's kind of important, and you're just the timing. It's like, I get him completely. I get,
totally.
And I respect comedy, the art form. You should be able to say whatever you want, but just the time didn't work. And then, now everybody's kind of
piling on him.
Yeah. Ari came out today and defended him,
I was going to say, he's the only person that has been through this.
That's another dude. Yeah. He gets,
with the timing and like Kobe, let it breathe.
Just give it a day. It's weird. It's a weird line, dude. And it's a weird time. And I think, I have noticed a lot of my friends that were in the beginning about canceling, which in the beginning, it made sense. Yes, let's call out some assholes that are, doing some bad shit.
Harvey Weinstein and shit,
right.
For sure. Bill Cosby, for sure. Yeah.
These people that are drugging women and rape and all that, that's bad. Call
real
that
shit.
out. But a bad joke doesn't, the career shouldn't be canceled. But what the good thing is that I've seen a lot of friends that in the beginning were all about that movement now being like, I think we're pushing it too far.
Absolutely.
We're pushing it too far.
Yeah, he was trying to be funny. It missed. I don't think he wanted to hurt that person, probably. He was trying to be endearing. Sometimes, like you said, in the army, you rib each other and fuck with them. And that's all it is. It's not meant like if he was really racist, he wouldn't do it on the stage like that.
He is absolutely not a racist. Dude.
Yeah.
He's also, a lot of the times, functioning on a level like a WWE heel.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's walking around like the bad guy on purpose because it works, dude. Look at Conor McGregor. I hate him, but he's so popular and so good that I can't help but tune into his fights. You know what I mean? Like, I hate the personality of like that douchebag, but it works. That's what sells, and that's how you get stars. So I get what he's doing, and
you beat him, you beat the heel, and then you become a star. But the heel stays a star too, and everybody wins.
Exactly, and there's got to be heels. That's
good
the thing.
Cop, bad cop scenario.
There has to be heels in the world. Unfortunately, like that's just the balance of the universe, man. People talk about balance and peace and meditation, and that's the one thing I found in my journeys, psychedelic, in taking psychedelics and meditating and everything. It's this frequency where we exist right now functions on balance of both sides of the spectrum. There's a beginning and an end, and then there's the life in the middle. There's black and white, and there's gray in the middle. But if you get rid of the bad, there's just this unbalanced, Titanic sinking. kind of thing. You know what I
there's
mean?
no more balance.
Yeah, we need to have the heels. Obviously, we don't need bad people on the planet, like people killing, and doing all that shit. We need to work against that. But there should still be heels on this planet. Somebody to help the other person shine. Somebody to give the other... Look at the Batman and Joker dynamic. Why do you think that works? Why do you think people love the Joker?
I love the Joker. That movie was all... it was... it's weird. Like, I can identify with sometimes these bad guys, or whatever. Like, there's something deeper than they're just assholes. They're not just assholes because they're assholes. They're assholes for some other, like, mental illness maybe, or whatever. Sure.
Yeah. The real good villains in comic books and film and writing throughout history have always been complex, more complex than the hero. Like, the heroes usually have this one goal of, like, I'm good, and we're gonna, where, like, the villains, like, oh, I'm in love, or and I've been hurt by love, or I have this complex family issue where I was born into, like, slavery. Like, there's, like, like Thanos is, that's my dude. I got him right here.
Nice.
That's my guy. I love that character because his madness drove him into so insane that death became a woman, and that was the love of his life, a physical representation of death. And I was like, that's so much more fucking interesting than Superman came from another planet and now he has all of the power. Like, what?
I did like the new DC event. Was it Avengers, or what the fuck is that called, with like Superman and Superwoman and Batman? And it was kind of
the Justice League. The
Justice League. It was very similar in a way to the other one with Thanos, because it had, like, instead of that wrist,
the mother boxes, instead of the gauntlet
boxes, it had instead of those, the jewels. It was a little bit too similar, but I like some of the characters.
Well, Zack Snyder's got a reputation of putting out superhero movies that give depth to the superhero.
Shut up! Hey.
Hey, your robot's talking to you.
Yeah, I don't even know.
It's funny. I have one of those. I had to disconnect it. I couldn't take it anymore. I was just hanging out in my living room, like, talking, like, okay, and it'll be like, yes. What would I can't hear you. What are you asking me? It's like, oh no, shut up, robot.
I have 5 of them here, right? I have Alexa. Goodness. I have my phone Siri. I got that Apple thing. I don't know how it works. It's like Apple. See, and then another Siri, and then
the Google Home, maybe.
Yeah, no, it's an Apple Home. And Apple Home. I have a massage chair that talks to you now.
Like, you got to be nice to them, man. I noticed that. I started saying thank you and please. When I was like, hey, Google, can you please set a timer for 15 minutes? And it would say, got it. Timer set for 15 minutes. Nice of you to ask that way. I was like,
wow.
What? And then, like, at one time, it even made a nice little noise. I said, please, and it did like a boo. How thoughtful. And I was
I like when my wife asks me very, very sweetly, because I'll be like, it's nice of you to ask me that way. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense, right? Be polite to people. I guess be polite to your robots. What can you say?
And I'm down to merge. I'm down to merge.
That's what I tell my friends. They're like, fuck all these Google and Alexa. I'm like, just bow down now to the robot overlords, man, and be a part of the journey, because otherwise you're getting shut out.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, when the robots come, you're not winning that battle. I'm sorry. You're a flesh bag.
I'm a mix. I want to be like RoboCop type android.
Have you always been into that kind of stuff, like cyberpunk, kind of like like you said, RoboCop, Terminator movies? Is that kind of what you grew up on?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I
Blade Runner.
Like a vivid imagine. We all have imaginations, but I kind of want to see beyond what is and the potentials. And I feel like I have these principles for success, and a lot of times, a lot of it is just putting it out into the universe as an idea, and then letting it marinate and letting the universe it'll bring it to you. Like a lot of the things you saw in the movies, like they came into reality.
Yeah.
I think
like
that's
FaceTiming. You see that in movies in the early 90s, man. Look at Demolition Man. They have the iPads. I'm like, what the fuck? We didn't even have iPads back then.
Good call. Yeah, I couldn't even think of an exact example, but I feel like teleportation and these types of things will happen at some point. And that is something I used to always want when I was 5. No, when I was 9. Yeah, when I was 9, my mom moved me away from, I grew up in Texas and then we moved to Georgia, and I would imagine this portal in my closet where I could just walk through and be into my old closet, my old room. And if I could go back between those two and have my friends on both sides, that would have been ideal. So, first you have to present the idea to the universe, but then it's like, you gotta do the work. Yeah. There's a lot of work also.
You gotta do the work. Yeah. Cause I was going to say, like, you hear it a lot from people where they're like, put it out there and, do the thing you want to do and live your dream and, just do it.
Be a rock star.
But it is hard it is not easy. Some people are born with something, you see them and they're just born with a thing that untangible kind of ability to just kind of explode in front of a camera, just kind of be a whole
like McGregor.
Thing. Right. But if you put the thought, like for me, for this podcast, for everything, like whenever I want to guest for the show, I just kind of like put it out there in my head. Like, I want to have this, and like, maybe I'll even forget about it. You got to put work in, but sometimes I'll even forget about the work that I put in, and it calls back and you're just like, oh shit, look, that thing that I wrote an essay about, or I submitted an application for, or sent somebody my resume, or, hey, there's things that you got to do. You can't just sit around at home and like pray. It's not going to happen. You got to actually get up and do it.
Well, that's what so it starts like that. Like, you put it out there, and then it'll come back to you in the form of an idea, how to make that happen. And you'll be like, and then you have to act on that idea. You can't just have the idea and not do anything. That's where the action comes into play. You put it out there. So you give the mind as the magnificent problem solving machine. It loves to solve problems. Give it a problem. Like, I want an airplane. That's a pretty significant request, kind of, because I want like a G5, right? But it's going to take me building this company up to $100 million company before I can get that. And it's like, okay, it'll be like, okay, you want that G5? Well, you have to do this. Here's an idea on how to go do that. But a lot of people will just have the idea, but oh, I had this idea. And they tell all their friends about it.
And then somebody else makes it.
And that's as far as it goes. Yeah. You don't.
Or somebody else steals it. They just go and do it. I've seen that a ton of times where I've made that mistake where I'll just be like, man, I wish I could make this, jacket that, like, I wanted to make a hoodie that had the face mask built into it.
Oh yeah,
like,
me too. I thought of that too.
And then I saw it online. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, somebody heard. And now with the phones, listening all the time, you can just say any idea out loud. Your phone will pick it up and somebody will buy the rights to that.
Yeah, you got to be very careful.
You got to be careful, man. You got to be careful.
Yeah,
but
like,
all right, so what's the
ahead.
plan with Sheath moving forward now? Like, you've got tremendous technology. Like, you've evolved even past your original idea of just the pouch to the dual pouch technology. Like, where do we go from there?
Socks is ideal. Socks would be ideal. And
I've heard that's a big deal in the Army too. Like, clean socks is like gold.
Exactly. And I have a size 8 foot. I always buy socks. They're always like 2 inches too long. And there's a company, and I'll give them a plug, Kane Socks, until I do it myself, which I don't think they have a patent on this. It's sized socks sized for your shoe size.
So you get like a mold for your foot or something
no, it's just like something. You buy a size 8 shoe, then you're gonna get a size 8 sock. You're not going to, they only have two
because they do like
for
8 to 12, right? That's what they do. Yeah. That makes sense.
I don't like that. And so I only buy Kane 11, check them out, and sheathunderwear.com. Check them out. We're moving in. We're going to continue doing underwear, and it's almost it's very difficult for us to keep them in stock, and I'm not being modest. It's like we have 391 SKUs, so individual items. Over 211 of them are sold out.
Wow.
Or whatever. So it's like we have half of our products available right now. And there's been we just put in our biggest order ever from our manufacturer in January. It's June.
Jeez.
Almost. We're going to get it in the first week of June. It's like on a boat finally. We're learning. It's a constant adapting to your environment, and as we grow, we're finding ourselves in new territories, and so I'm like, we'll just make the biggest order ever. What we should have done was made 2 small orders or 3 small orders, so now we're going from ordering once a quarter to once a month, and we're gonna have a dedicated sewing line for our product, so we can constantly have product, because it sounds cool to be sold out, like Supreme, the brand,
right? Yeah.
Release, sell out, boom, that's it. But when we're sold out, our numbers are clearly reflective of how much inventory we have available. Like, we were doing insane numbers. Like, well, and I don't, to some people, anyways, there's always levels, right? But we're doing $30,000 a day.
That's insane.
It's insane, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. But now it's back down to under 10. But it's because
you don't have product to sell.
Exactly. Yeah. And we also, because we don't have product, we pulled back on a lot of advertising, but it's going to be back next month. So this summer it's going to be hot. Summer to the end of the year, we've doubled every year since we started.
Nice.
And it's power. There's a positive, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. That's a book by Napoleon Hill. If anybody takes anything from this conversation, I would say buy that book, read it 2 times, and live that. Let that be your Bible, because there's always going to be obstacles, and you can come at it with a negative or positive attitude, but it's usually something you can get through, around, over, under, and there's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way, and if you can see it, you can figure it out. You know.
And I think it helps. It helps that you actually went and made it physically, because that's the first step where people usually take a stumble, and that's from the idea to something tangible that you can be like, this is the idea, like these are the underwear, like, that I want to make, and then from there you can fine tune it, like the materials, and do we have an elastic band? Is it like wrapped? Is it you go from there, but. Just the first step that everybody takes a tumble is from idea to something tangible that you can present. To present it to people that are gonna yes, let's go, let's fucking do it. And it doesn't have to be millionaire investors, Shark Tank style. You know what I mean? You just get a team, get the people around you to support. I think that your approach is the right way to do it, and obviously it's paying off. Look at where you're at.
10 years later.
Hey, that's how it is. It's not quick. It's not a get-rich scheme or whatever they call it.
No. Yeah. And then, I was going to say, I watched this movie called The Secret. I'm sure you may have heard of it. Maybe not.
Are you walking around with magnets in your pocket?
I have rocks. My gratitude rock. No, I don't have that. But gratitude is huge. Huge.
No, the thing about The Secret is cool because it's true. A lot of what they say. There's just a little bit of
woo-woo. A little bit of woo-woo. Yeah. But one of the statements that was coming to mind is the universe likes speed. So when you have that idea, don't wait, don't hesitate, act. And when you act, the universe will reward you sometimes, and it's going to test you. It's not going to be an easy walk in the park. You're going to get those roadblocks, but eventually, and I have stories that we're into it, but it's gonna eventually the universe will say, okay, you can have what you want eventually, but it's gonna put you through the ringer first, and if you just don't quit, there's a good chance you will succeed. There's a good chance you can try your whole life and you'll never make it, but
if you quit, you'll never know.
Yeah, and if you didn't make it to where you were thinking you wanted to go, all that work and hard effort probably made you a pretty decent lifestyle doing something else, I would presume. like I wanted to be in the NBA. So my whole childhood, I grew up practicing everyday basketball to the point of injuries and exhaustion and whatever. And it just didn't happen. I'm a short white guy. What are you going to do? And
White Man Can't Jump. That's
exactly.
A movie, right?
Great movie. But that effort, that work, kind of ethic that I developed transitioned into what, everything I did, from my corporate cubicle office jobs to the Army to the Sheath. So it might not be exactly what you thought it was going to be. I did not think I was going to be selling underwear when I grew up, but I love my job. I love it.
Yeah, man, that's a positive journey, I would say. And it's not over, and who knows where it goes from here. So
yeah, I mean, and real quick, like you said, like, where is it going? We're going to just keep it, let it expanding, and wherever our inspiration takes us, we're going to have fun. We're sponsoring podcasts. Yeah. We're starting a podcast network, Time Wheel. I know you're part of a podcast network. We just work with artists that we like to work with fighters and people that are living out their dreams. And the more I like to give as much as I can. And that it seems to come back to you. So whatever I'm doing seems to be working. I got it from the book I was just talking about, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. I'm not a genius. I'm just an average dude. And but a lot, like my heart and will, persistence, and just that never quitting ultimately would is my advice to the listeners. I know it's not rock and roll, but I like some rock and roll.
It's very rock and roll. That's what rock and roll is, man. Bands are all struggling and playing in front of 4 people for years before eventually they get their crowd going. It happens. And that's just part of the journey. And you just got to work and enjoy your work. If you're working somewhere where you're not happy, figure it out. Get out of there and go be happy at your work, even if you're working for someone else. But eventually you become part of a team. And I think you're establishing a team over there and a lifestyle brand, like not just underwear. Like I think Sheath can be a
absolutely,
a whole lifestyle thing for sure.
Yeah. And just, and nobody wants to be around the guy that's trying, but complaining about how he's not getting his break. Mm-hmm. Stay positive.
It's uninspiring.
And just stay positive. Even if it's hard, like be grateful for what you do have. And the universe tends to reward that type of an attitude with more positive stuff. So like this, that was a fun conversation. I don't know if we're done, but
we got an hour. It's good. But it was a quick hour.
It was,
what I mean? And we can do this again. Like I said, there's a lot to talk about, but I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you so much sponsoring the podcast. I'm not fucking around, guys. Like I'm not doing these ads because, just a quick buck. It's because I believe in it. I wear this shit every day. Like I'm wearing it right now. Yeah. Look. Yeah. Right now. Wee. Sheath. Oh, the lights went away. Sheath undies. These.
Oh shit! Yeah, there you go. You got the 3.21s.
I love those. I like the
fabric covered.
Yeah. I like that. I've always been a fan of that.
Hell yeah.
But I appreciate everything you're doing, man. And we're definitely gonna do this again sometime for sure.
Absolutely. I want to have you come on to the RPG podcast. It's available. It's very close. RRBG and RPG.
Yeah, it works. It's quick. It's memorable, right?
Well, Robert Patton Global or Rocket Propelled Grenade, one of those two.
Rocket Propelled. Cool, man. Well, dude, everybody, sheathunderwear.com. You hear me talk about it every week. I have thankfully a promo code RRBG that'll save you 20%. And but follow online too. You guys are posting really cool content on the Instagram at Sheath Underwear. There's always fighters, Israel Adesanya, if you're a UFC guy, like he's there promoting the brand. Cowboy Cerrone, there's comedians that are they're into comedy, they're into MMA, like it's a full, there's something for everyone.
All the good stuff. And we're going to be doing some high fashion photo shoots. We actually just did it, so that's going to come out pretty soon. And I'm at Bobby the Bank on all the socials and at Sheath Underwear on all of the socials for the brand. I do appreciate you having me on here. I want to have you on in a couple weeks if that's cool, we'll schedule it out.
We'll do
and do a crossover. So
hell yeah, brother. Well,
thank you.
Stay safe, stay clean, stay happy, stay motivated, stay positive. Cheers, brother.
Cheers, brother.